Hi there, how are we doing? Welcome to the third edition of the Friday Live sessions with a stroke of luck. Hope everyone's had a good week and is looking forward to the weekend. Hi David, hi Kate, hi Debbie. We'll just wait a few more minutes while people join us, or just a minute or two before we crack on with this week's live session. Notice that my dad has just joined. Hi Dad. So it's great to see people that joined last week coming back. Hi Paul, how are you doing? It's a beautiful evening again. Okay, we'll just wait another minute or so. So we had cause for a minor celebration at A Stroke of Luck today. We reached 1,000 followers, so we're quite pleased with that. So we did a social post, maybe some of you saw it. But yeah, delighted that we've now got 1,000 people following our Instagram page. Which is great, just to support us and getting the message out to stroke survivors. Hi John, how are you doing? Time to relax now then, Paul, is it? So I just mentioned that we're delighted that we've now reached 1,000 followers, but the most important story of the day that we released is about an inspirational young lady who is actually joining us on this live right now, Ellie, who at the age of 19 last summer had a devastating stroke. You may well have read her story on our website page and seen it through social media. So Ellie had a stroke at the age of 19 last June and spent 9 months in hospital going through rehabilitation and recovery. You know, we're all delighted at A Stroke of Luck to know that Ellie is now at home and her recovery journey is a positive one, an ongoing one, and we're absolutely certain with the support network that she has around her, with her family, that she's going to make, you know, bounds forward in her recovery. So from me and from everyone at A Stroke of Luck, Ellie, we wish you all the best in your recovery journey, and we look forward to working closely with you to support you as best we can. Okay, so we published last week and earlier this week the person that's going to be joining us on this week's Instagram Live, and it's a gentleman by the name of Chris Larkin. He's Director of Stroke Support for the Stroke Association. I announced last Friday, very excitedly, that A Stroke of Luck is going to be working and is now in partnership with the Stroke Association to support stroke survivors in life after stroke through some stroke-specific exercise videos. So I'm delighted that Chris is going to join us. So I'll invite him into the session in a minute or so. But before I do that, what I wanted to do is take this opportunity to support the message that came out from the Stroke Association this week, and also the World Stroke Organisation, in that if anybody is showing any signs of being ill or having a stroke, A&E is absolutely open, and it's important that you do seek medical advice. And actually this week I had to do that. On Tuesday, over the course of last weekend, on Monday, I started to deteriorate, started to feel a bit poorly. So on Tuesday, I was taken in an ambulance to hospital and had a CT scan. Fortunately, there's no further damage to me, but it is critical that people, even in this COVID-19 crisis, really do utilise the emergency services. And if you're in any doubt, pick up the phone, dial 111 or 999 if needed. But yeah, I had to take advantage of the services of the NHS this week, and thankfully for me, I'm I'm okay. Okay, I'm just gonna see if Chris is here and ready to join our live session. There he is. So just bear with me a second. We'll give this a go. You can never be 100% certain with technology that I'm doing it right, but let me just see if we can add Chris in. It says it's waiting for him, connecting, and here he is.
Afternoon,
Can you hear me,
Craig.
Chris?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Perfectly, perfectly.
Excellent.
How's your day been?
Pretty full on. Yeah, not too bad actually. Juggling two young children and a busy work schedule, like lots of people are at the moment. But I'm glad it's Friday. Yeah,
Right, it's Friday, yeah. Can enjoy a beer a little bit later on.
absolutely. Well, a non-alcoholic beer for me.
Oh, good man, good man. Well,
Yeah.
thanks ever so much for joining, Chris. Really appreciate it. I know that, you know, A Stroke of Luck is incredibly excited to be working with you and working with your colleagues at the Stroke Association to benefit stroke survivors in life after stroke. The viewers of A Stroke of Luck have seen a couple of lives with me over the last 2 weeks, and they've kind of got to know a little bit about me. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity, really, for, if okay with you, for you to talk about kind of you, your background, your role as the Director of Stroke Support for the Stroke Association, and kind of what it is you do, and then we can talk about how the partnership is going to benefit stroke survivors, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. So I've been at the Stroke Association for about 11 years now. So I started in 2009. My experience up until about a year ago was I covered the northwest of England and the north of England for the Stroke Association. And then about a year ago, I moved into my role covering England. So I'm the Director of Stroke Support. It's a pretty broad spectrum of things that could come across my desk, to be honest. So, you know, lots of things that relate to stroke, involved in exciting conversations with people like yourself, Craig, about how we can work together to support stroke survivors. The main part of my role is that the Stroke Association provides life after stroke services across England. We aren't able to provide them everywhere, but we work with commissioners, so local NHS and local authorities, and where we're able to secure some funding, we provide support for stroke survivors, really sort of from the hospital and through back home into the community and into the longer term. We do a huge amount of work though with volunteers, obviously, and peer support groups and things like that. And I guess, yeah, my role is kind of supporting the teams who provide that activity across England, and just kind of making sure that what we do is as good as it can be, I guess, in a nutshell. I mean, prior to this, my time at the Stroke Association, I was actually a physiotherapist. Quite a long time ago now. I haven't sort of practiced since about 2007, so I'm not registered any longer, so don't trust my advice necessarily. But, you know, my background was in the NHS and physiotherapy, and then I had a few years in retail management before joining the Stroke Association.
Okay. And when you were working as a physio, then was it around neurophysio, or what area of physio were you focused on?
I did a bit of everything. So, I mean, when I was a junior, I did my rotations, and I did spend time neuro, physio, and on a stroke unit. Actually, when I finished physiotherapy as my career, I sort of had ended up specialising more in respiratory and medical physiotherapy, doing quite a bit of work on intensive care and things like that, working with ventilators and various things like that. But it was more by chance than design. You know, I really enjoyed my physiotherapy background, but it didn't quite feel like that was the right career for me.
Okay.
But I've been really fortunate since kind of joining the Stroke Association that background and experience is really, really relevant to what we do.
Yeah.
But I love the voluntary sector as well. So it's a good fit, I think.
Yeah, and you've obviously been at the Stroke Association for a long time, so they must be a good organisation to work for them.
They are, yeah. I mean, they're, you know, you would hope as a charity that it's a caring organisation, but you know, it really is. I think I probably didn't realise previously how much doing something that feels like it is making a difference can motivate you and kind of inspire you in your work. But you know, I think working in the voluntary sector does give you that job satisfaction. You know, and I'm very fortunate to see the difference that our work makes to stroke survivors and other organisations like yourself and the stroke teams we work with in the NHS. You know, that it is really motivational to see that when you get things right, it can make a big difference to people who are going through something which is, you know, pretty awful, obviously, in terms of a stroke. So, yeah.
Well, it's great that you know, we're we've entered into this partnership to do these pilot videos around stroke-specific exercises for stroke survivors. And I think working shoulder to shoulder with the Stroke of Luck and the Stroke Association, it can only benefit stroke survivors, which is ultimately the whole rationale for me starting a Stroke of Luck, and the whole rationale for you guys is around stroke prevention and supporting people in their Rebuilding Lives campaign that you've got going. So from your perspective, Chris, what is it about the partnership that you think is a positive thing, and how do you think we're going to be able to really drive the support to those out there that need it?
I think there's loads of things that are positive about it. I mean, obviously, we're really excited to work with a Stroke of Luck, who are a new charity, but a really kind of dynamic charity. You being a stroke survivor, Craig, is exciting as well. It's great that someone who's experienced stroke is kind of at the helm of your charity. I think the other thing is, your real focus on exercise, and that's your kind of mission to support people into exercise. And whilst it's something the Stroke Association has always taken an interest in and has been kind of, has looked at, I think we, as an organisation, as sort of big and diverse as ours is, we don't have that real sort of sole focus on exercise as a priority. It's been one of a number of priorities. So I think to work with an organisation that is driven by that kind of mission can only add value to us. But I think we also, we can take that really high quality information that you guys are going to work with us on, and the content that we're going to produce, and hopefully reach a bigger audience through our size as a charity and through our connections and our networks. And ultimately, those pilot films which we're creating, which we believe will be incredibly valuable for many, many stroke survivors, will hopefully benefit many more people because we're working together on it. And I think often charities are criticised for not working collaboratively enough. It's challenging, obviously, when you're a charity, because you're both looking to raise money and you're both looking to raise awareness of your own organisation. But I think with something like this, if we can partner together and not duplicate, it just, it makes a lot of sense.
It does. And what I want to do as well is also convey that, we mentioned it briefly last week on a live that I did with the experts that came on. So people that joined the live session got an opportunity to meet those that are busy building the content ready for us to then send out over the next couple of weeks or so. But what we've done as Stroke of Luck and the Stroke Association is kind of classify groups of individuals that are stroke survivors on a spectrum, because we know that every stroke's individual, every stroke's unique, and every stroke survivor has differing challenges. However, there can be some similarities with stroke survivors. So some people can be really challenged from a cognitive perspective, and some from a mobility perspective. So what we've done is create kind of 3 groups in our exercise videos, where we've got those that need support through carers and friends and family to support them through some physical exercise, right the way through the spectrum to those that are quite independent and can exercise independently. And I think that's a really crucial point, that, working together, we get to really understand who it is and the audience in which we're trying to support, to make sure that what we're providing is as specific as we possibly can for stroke survivors, across the UK and potentially further afield, because they're online, so people outside of the UK can engage with us. So that for me is really exciting, is to use the experience and the knowledge and, the capability the Stroke Association has got to really guide and shape the product that we're developing for the benefit of survivors.
Yeah, I agree. I hope so. We've got, a team here, and we'll be obviously monitoring the impact of the materials that we produce together, looking at how successful they are, how many people watch them, and getting, but I think we would both really value and encourage anyone that's watching who does watch those films to really do give us feedback. I think that's going to be key. We can track things online to see, where people have watched the films and how many people have watched the films and all that kind of thing. But the most valuable feedback will be from stroke survivors who complete the films, who work through those exercises, and then let us know what worked for them, or what didn't work for them. What would they like more of? What would they like to see in future? If we can gather that sort of insight, that'll be invaluable.
Absolutely. So we've got the objective data, haven't we? We've got the amount of people that have watched it. We've got all of the analytics. And of course, that will give us a sense of how popular they were. but we won't actually know whether they've had a benefit and whether, you know, the impact that we want is to be a positive impact. And the only way we're going to get that knowledge is through people feeding back to us. So you're absolutely right. So I think they're going to be available on both Stroke Association and the Stroke of Luck YouTube channels, plus potentially other media as well. So what I would actively encourage is that any stroke survivor that engages with these videos, be it on our channel or Stroke Association channel, is just putting comments whether they've been beneficial, because that will then help shape what we do moving forward beyond the kind of initial library of videos that we're going to create.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're anticipating they'll be on our YouTube channel, hopefully on My Stroke Guide, which is our online sort of self-management platform. And then, yes, we'll be sharing links to them from social media and kind of pushing it out there through our networks, so that hopefully, you know, lots and lots of people are able to benefit from the films that we're creating.
Absolutely. Have you got any questions for me at all, Chris?
Oh, that's a good question. You put me on the spot a little bit there, Craig. I wasn't expecting that.
And if you haven't, don't worry. I just wonder if there's anything that leaps to your mind.
Well, I mean, I know that, was it your anniversary of your stroke was last week, was it, or the week before?
Yeah, it was the 28th of April. So yeah, just over 2 weeks ago now. It was the second anniversary. Yeah.
Second anniversary.
My stroke.
And I mean, something I've asked a few people, I mean, what you might have talked about this before, Craig, but obviously you've been inspired to set up a Stroke of Luck. But what I guess did having your stroke, how's that made you think differently about life?
It's a really good question, and it's one I'm really passionate about answering, actually. Prior to my stroke, I had my own business, and it was doing quite well. But it was doing quite well because I was a slave to it, as well as my business partners. You know, I was working 14, 16 hours a day, every single day in the office, behind a desk typically, not looking after which is quite ironic, seeing as I used to be, you know, involved in sport quite heavily, but I wasn't looking after my physical well-being. I wasn't looking after my mental, emotional well-being, and I wasn't being at home with my family and seeing my kids grow up. So having a stroke, ironically, has changed my life, which is a natural thing to say, but actually some elements of my life have changed for the better. It's made me kind of reevaluate what's important in life, and no longer is having a business and, you know, chasing success and chasing money. No longer is that important. The most important commodity that I have now is time. So I very, very quickly made the decision, actually, I'm going to exit this business and start a charity, because what that enables me to do is focus on the things in life that I'm really, really passionate about. And that's spending time at home with the family, but also going back to really my roots and the core values I have as an individual, and that's around sport, health, fitness. And then linking that to being a stroke survivor, kind of the natural move was to set up a Stroke of Luck and focus, as you mentioned earlier on, around the breadth of support that the Stroke Association gives to stroke survivors. What I wanted to do was really narrow it down to just what we're doing, and it's all around sport, fitness and exercise to support physical, mental and emotional well-being. So having a stroke for me has really, really changed my mindset to say, actually, the goals that I set for myself as an individual, I no longer value myself. My values are much more around time with the family and kind of giving back to a cohort of individuals that actually I didn't really understand before, because I wasn't a stroke survivor. So pre me having a stroke, to be honest, I was pretty ignorant to stroke and, you know, kind of the cause and the effects. And what I really didn't appreciate until I had a stroke was stroke can happen to anyone at any time, at any age. You know, I thought I was relatively young at 39 having a stroke. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this live session, you know, the story that we announced today around Ellie, you know, at the age of 19 having a stroke. And last week we talked about Parker, you know, he had a stroke at 4 weeks old. You know, it's just incredible. So yeah, it's made me, I think, a bit more passionate about life. Yeah, it's bizarre, but I genuinely think it has. And maybe it's made me a little bit more chilled out as a person. I don't know. You'll have to ask my wife and children about that.
I will do one day. Yeah, I mean, it's not an uncommon reflection for people to obviously going through something as you know, life-changing, life-threatening as a stroke. Obviously, you kind of almost, you have looked death in the face a bit, and to really, you know, reevaluate life and you know, but let's not minimize the impact of stroke. Obviously, it's devastating and can have huge impacts on many people, but it's also very common for people to kind of find that purpose in life afterwards a lot of the time, which is fantastic. And I mean, just what you've said in terms of highlighting the gap that exists for stroke survivors in terms of being able to access exercise. You know, we know that many people get far too little rehab when they come home from hospital, sadly. Clearly at the moment with coronavirus, it's even less than they should be getting. But that leap from being supported by a physiotherapist through to independently exercising or getting into a gym, or, you know, we know is a huge barrier for so many stroke survivors. So anything that can bridge that gap and get people more active has got to be a good thing. You know, and ultimately we know exercise is a wonder drug, you know, and if people can do or be more active, you know, it's far more effective than any kind of medications. You know, if you could prescribe exercise for everybody, you would do it because of how effective it can be, you know, in terms of health, well-being and all those kind of things. So, you know, it's just great that you've undertaken what you have, I think, Craig.
Thank you. No, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, Chris, it's been, as always, a pleasure having a chat with you. Thanks ever so much for joining the Friday Live session with the Stroke of Luck. It is greatly appreciated. And I'm sure those that have tuned in have taken a lot from what you've had to say. And kind of for those that are watching, watch his spaces as Chris and his team and I work together to try and, you know, create life after stroke to be a better place for survivors. So thanks, Chris. I'll say goodbye to you for now. And thank you ever so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the conversation that Chris and I just had. I have to say, for all the dealings that I've had with the Stroke Association, they've been incredibly supportive of me as an individual, as a stroke survivor. They do focus on rebuilding lives, and the support that they're giving to me and to the charity, A Stroke of Luck, I'm absolutely delighted with. So yeah, a great chat, a great organisation. He and Kate and Charlotte are the three people that I've worked with most closely over the last month or so. And yeah, a great group of people to work with. Next week on our Friday Live session, we have another guest. He is associated with the Stroke Association too. He's a trustee of theirs. Some of you, if you enjoy your rugby and enjoy sports, you may recognise the name, but Michael Liner, AM, is joining me next Friday to do a session, and we'll be talking about his recovery from stroke, because in 2013, Michael, albeit a World Cup winning rugby player, he had a stroke. So he and I will be discussing that, and hopefully you'll tune in. So I guess all that's left from me is thank you ever so much for tuning into this Friday Live session. I will look forward to next week. I wish you all a fantastic weekend. If the weather stays nice, enjoy it, but make sure you all stay safe. Okay, bye for now.